Hey, first graders, how are you? I hope you had an amazing weekend and welcome back. We're back to Monday and I get to see you guys today on a Zoom video, so that will be fun. I'm going to start off today with our amazing words for the week. I'm going to give you 3 of them, and then I'm going to read you a poem that has those 3 words in it, and I want you to think about what they mean. The first one is freedom. If you look at this mouse right here, he's in a cage. So that means he can't do what he wants to do. But this mouse down here, he's out in the meadow. He's nothing holding him back. So he has the freedom to do whatever he wants to do. So we like to have our freedom, right? We don't like people caging us up and taking away our freedom. So this mouse right here has freedom. The next word is miserable. Miserable means when you just feel really bad. So you can tell these people feel very miserable. You can tell in those pictures. Okay, and the last word is selfish. Selfish is when you take everything for yourself and you don't think about what other people might like to have. Or you just, this boy right here, he's eating all that cake to himself and he's not sharing with his friends. So selfish is when you take it all and you don't share. In your book, like this, for this week, there's a picture of being selfish right here. You can see that picture. The one girl over here has all the crayons and she's not sharing with this girl. So that girl might even feel a little bit miserable because she doesn't have all the crayons. If we look right here, this boy's sick. He probably feels miserable. You ever get sick and you just feel so miserable? And over here, we have a picture of a guy who's letting a duck free. He's letting him go so he can have freedom. So that's what those pictures are about. So I'm going to read you a little poem. It's kind of a cute little poem. It's called Caught a Fish. Caught a fish in my net, took her home to be my pet. But my new fish felt so miserable with me, she just wanted to be free. Found her lake, let her go. Freedom is so important, you know. To keep her would have been a selfish act. That is why I took her back. So hopefully you heard the word miserable, freedom, and selfish in that poem. All right. If you can open up your book, your little book like this, to page 54 and 55. This week, I'll show you, we'll go through that in a minute. But this week we're going to be talking about, like your spelling words have this letter combination in it. You should look at the Hunk and Chunk video that Mrs. E put together for you so you can see the ow sound. You're going to have words like that sound like mouth, couch, out, hour, things like that have the OU, so it says ow. Sometimes you're going to see OU, like our spelling words last week that said ow, like frown and town and cow. But also sometimes we see OW and it says O, it just says this, the long sound of O, like in the word snow or bow or window. So if you look in this book, we can find words that have the ow sound and the O sound. So look for those. I'll point out a couple and hopefully you can find some more on your own. We have a clown, which has the OW, clown, and look at his face. That is a big old frown on there. This clown's not sad, but, and then also you see the word crow, which is, it has a spelled C-R-O-W, but it has the O sound, the long O. Here's a baker, and they're making some dough, and the O sound, dough, is spelled with O-U on that one. So look on here, look for words that have the ow sound and the O sound in them. You can tell that guy right there is shouting. Enjoy that book right there. I wish I could hear you all helping me to how to find it. Have you ever wanted to write a letter to somebody? um, there's a couple of really important things about writing a letter. So maybe you'd like to write a letter to one of your grandparents, somebody who lives far away. Sometimes you can just text them or send them a phone call or give them a phone call or send them a text. But sometimes you want to write a real nice letter. So one way to write a letter is with a paper and pencil, or you might just send an email. Either way works. So there's two really important parts of a letter. You're going to have the greeting, which is like who you're writing it to. So you might say, Dear Jack, or Dear Grandma, or Dear Uncle Joe. And then the closing part is where you sign your name. You might write your friend, Sam, or you might write sincerely, Amaya, or with love, Hannah, or your friend, Jeremiah, or have a nice day, Soul. You might end your letter any way like that. This letter right here is something you'll work on today, but it says, Dear Jack, I had such a good time at your house last week. And then you're going to fill in the blanks. So you're going to write a little bit of a letter. Today you're just going to have to fill in the blanks with some of our spelling words for the week. But I want you to pay attention to what you're doing as you write that letter, because you're going to notice you have the greeting and the closing part. Those are important parts of a letter. All right. Sometimes when we read stories, we have to draw our own conclusions about the story. This is the last thing we're going to talk about today, is drawing conclusions. So, for instance, I was going to look at this picture right here. There aren't any words on it, but I could draw some conclusions about this picture. I want you to look at it and think about it for a minute. What conclusions could you draw about this picture? Right, look at their faces and think about it. I'm drawing the conclusion that this boy is happy and that this boy likes robots because he's so delighted. He seems to be so delighted about getting that robot. So that's a conclusion I would draw, because sometimes in stories, they don't always tell us everything about the story. Sometimes we just have to think about what information they do give us and draw conclusions about it. So I'm going to read you a story called Robbie Rabbit. And so as you're listening to this story, I want you to listen for why Robbie's father was worried about him, and why would a rabbit worry about a fox? I want you to think about that. And why doesn't Robbie's father want him to make friends with a fox? So I want you to draw some conclusions as you read this story, as I read this story to you. On the day Robbie Rabbit was born, his father looked out the window and saw a red, bushy tail. A fox, he cried. From that day on, Robbie believed that he was a fox. His brothers and sisters tried to make him believe that he was a rabbit, but he just laughed. I heard what my dad said, he would reply. I'm a fox. Robbie tried very hard to make his family believe he was a fox. First, he ran from one side of the field to another. See, he said, a fox has freedom to run like that. Next, he chased a tiny brown mouse. See, he said, a fox chases mice. I am a fox. Last, he marched up and down in front of them, twitching his little tail. See, he said, a fox has a beautiful tail, just like me. For a while, his father thought Robbie was amusing. But then he started to worry. What if Robbie saw a fox one day? What if he tried to make friends with it? Robbie's father took him to the celery patch. On the way, his father spied something sparkling on the ground. He hopped over to the shiny object and looked down at it. Robbie Rabbit, his father said, look at this. Robbie looked down at the small mirror and saw a rabbit looking back at him. Why, I'm a rabbit, Robbie said. Yes, you are, his father said. And I would be quite miserable if you were anything but a rabbit. Robbie took a closer look at the rabbit, head staring back at him. I'm a handsome rabbit too, he exclaimed. Indeed, his father said. Indeed you are. And finally, Robbie Rabbit believed he was a rabbit and not a fox. Okay, so in this story, it doesn't tell you why exactly that Robbie Rabbit's dad didn't want him to be friends with a fox, or why he didn't want him coming in contact with a fox. But can you draw a conclusion about why he might not want him to have a fox, be friends with a fox? Do you know that foxes eat rabbits? So that's not a very good friend to have, huh, if you're a rabbit. And then can you draw a conclusion about what that shiny object was that was in the meadow or on the ground? I'm in the celery patch. Can you, he didn't say exactly that shiny object was the mirror, but you can draw that conclusion by the fact that they walked over to the shiny thing and then he started talking about how he looked in the mirror. So anyways, those are the things for today. I'm going to have your parents give you a spelling test today, just a pre-spelling test. It's not anything to worry about. I just want to see how you can, if you can spell those words. Remember that the words have the ow sound, and ow is, this week is spelled O-U. It just depends on the word. Sometimes it's spelled O-W, but your words this week are O-U. And you're going to do page 521. And you're going to fill in the blanks with these words up here. You guys are good at that. And then we talked about this writing a letter. And then on this one, you're going to read this little story up here and you're going to write the answer. You're going to draw conclusions about the story. It says, why do you think the people clap? So you're going to draw your own conclusions about what happened in the story. All right. I hope you have an awesome day. See you later. Bye.